Here comes number 6 in the ETA problems in your student handbook, page 31. It says at 10:48 you're at the entrance of Great Salt Pond with buoy 5 close aboard. That's the green guy over here. What is your ETA at the west gap of Point Judith Harbor of Refuge if you're making 8.3 knots? So we're heading back up here to Point Judith Harbor of Refuge at the west gap. There's 2 entrances to Point Judith, the west gap over here on the west side. And if you're observant and you put your parallel rules between those 2 points, you'll realize that that actually takes you right across Block Island North Reef, which is not good. So we're going to assume that whoever wrote this problem was probably in a wig craft, flying slightly above the water so they didn't run aground. So we'll just go with that assumption and go in a straight line. We won't plot around because my guess is that whoever wrote these problems did not anticipate that this vessel would be aground. So let's take a look at this problem. It's an ETA, so I'm going to be adding start time plus travel time, okay, to come up with my ETA. So I've got to add those 2 times together. They gave me a start time which was 10 hours and 48 minutes. What do I always do with time when it's relevant to solving the problem? I take the minutes, okay, the hours are never going to change, so I'm going to just leave the 10 alone. I'm going to put point something, and I'm going to take the 48 minutes. That's about 3/4 of an hour, so it's going to be 7.5, maybe something a little bit bigger than 7.5. I'll say 7.8, 7.9, okay? So 48 minutes, 48 divided by 60 is 0.8, okay? So it's 0.8 tenths of an hour. Now I've got to add my travel time. Well, they didn't give me the travel time, but I have all the tools in my tool belt to find the travel time. So I like to write the triangle. Note I don't write one triangle and solve 10 problems. If I have 10 problems to solve, I draw 10 triangles. Not so much that I need to do that, but it's a good way for you to commit this to memory. Okay, it's a good way to commit this to memory. So the formula for time, travel time, is distance divided by speed equals time. So again, I like to write those words. Distance divided by speed equals time, travel time. So I find the distance. So how do I find the distance? Well, I plotted the 2 places on my chart. Now I need to simply measure the distance. So here we have a distance greater than my dividers will open. So I'm going to set my dividers up on a good easy number to use, like 5. Okay, so now I can say 5, 10, 15, 20, and I'm at buoy M. So I'm going to use buoy M, and I'm heading up here to Block Island. So I've got 5, 10, and just a little bit more. Let's say somewhere in that ballpark, 10 plus whatever this is, and I'm going to call that 0.6. Okay, so it's going to be 10.6. So my distance is 10.6 miles. Divided by the speed, which they gave me in the problem. They said you are turning 8.3 knots. 8.3 equals my time. So I'm going to put those numbers on the calculator. I've got 10.6 divided by 8.3 gives me 1.27 hours. 1.27 hours. So now that I've got my time, I can put that up here into the problem. Okay, start time plus travel time. So I know my start time. Now I know my travel time was 1.27. So I'm going to add those 2 numbers together. 10.8 plus 1.27 equals 12 hours and 07 tenths of an hour. Okay, keep in mind that's not 12 hours and 7 minutes, that's 12 hours and 07 tenths of an hour. That'd be a funny way to describe what time I was going to arrive, so I can solve that problem by giving time in the 24-hour format, a 4-digit number. So I'm going to simply take the hours, which are never going to change. I'm going to write 12, and then I'm going to have some number of minutes. So 0.07 tenths, 0.07, okay, multiplied by 60 gives me 4.2 minutes, okay? 4.2 minutes. So I can either use 4 minutes or I could call that 5 minutes. Let's see what they did in the problem. They gave 12:05. So my closest answer for number 6 is D. So they must have rounded that up because I got 4.2, which they rounded up to 5 minutes. Okay, so the best answer is delta. Okay.